welcome to the Euro What, episode number 52. I'm Mike McComb, and I'm joined today by Ben Smith. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Mike.
We are a pair of Americans trying to make sense of the Eurovision Song Contest, and today we will be talking about the Grand Final happening Saturday, May 18th. How's it going, Ben?
It is great. I have watched all the semifinals, and more importantly, I got a package in the mail from Hatari.
Ooh, what'd you get?
Well, they're working on tearing down capitalism, and they're doing that with their merch store.
Mm-hmm.
So I got myself a T-shirt. As we had previously reported on the show, when they opened the store, there was American shipping was not available. I emailed them. I got an email back. And true to their word, I will give them this, customer service Moon Sigra, because the next week they're like, hey, our web store now supports American shipping. Would you like to buy a T-shirt? And they promised me stickers, which is my weakness.
Yes.
When it comes to participating in capitalism, is that free stickers.
Yep.
Jumped on that because, well, there's a chance it'll get here before the final, and it did. So, dreams come true, everybody. Dare to dream.
Excellent.
So to dream.
A lot of stuff happening this week. We've had the two semifinals and other news happening alongside that, which is a choice, but...
They're just trying to bury that news.
Yeah, which, considering what the news is, which is that they are trying to develop the American Song Contest. Christer Bjorkman is the executive producer of Melfest, and his production company is now trying to develop an American version of Eurovision. It sounds like the details are very thinly drawn out.
Yeah,
at this point.
Details are like TK.
Yeah. One report said we're not even sure if it's going to be a contest between the states. And it's just like, well, then what's the point?
I just like that they said, oh yeah, we're shooting for 2021. We do not have a network lined up. We do not have a format lined up. They're throwing it out there far enough in the future that we will all forget about this, so that when it doesn't happen, we're not surprised.
There will probably be more information during the semifinals of the Eurovision Asia contest. So, so target date 2037.
Assuming a network buys in.
Right. Which is a pretty big assumption. Speaking of the assumption, that gets us to Madonna, right?
That's close enough. Close enough for government work.
Yeah, Madonna has finally been confirmed by the EBU and Eurovision. The
ink has dried on the contract.
Yes. They confirmed it. We're recording this Thursday evening. I believe it was Thursday morning that they're just like, no, it's actually happening. They even said it during the second semifinal that Madonna will be performing at the grand final. She'll be doing 2 songs. She'll be doing Like a Prayer, and she'll also be doing her new single Future, which features Quavo from Migos. It's going to be a jam-packed final, so let's start talking about it.
Yeah.
Before we do, we want to give out a spoiler warning. We know that not everyone watches the semifinals, and some folks may still be avoiding any of the rehearsal information from the auto-qualifiers, the Big Five, and Israel. So if you want to remain unspoiled, you may want to save this episode until after Saturday's grand final. Who knows? We could be hilariously wrong in everything we're about to say. That's kind of what happened with the first semifinal. So you have that bonus content to look forward to, possibly.
Yeah, just luxuriate in how wrong we were.
It's just every 30 seconds you'll be like, oh, that's just so adorable. But we'll be back to non-spoilery content with next week's episode. So let's dive into what happened at the first semifinal.
The nations that went through from the first semifinal are Australia, Belarus, Cyprus, Czech Republic, Estonia, Greece, Iceland, San Marino, Serbia, and Slovenia. How did we do, Mike?
As a team, we got 7 out of 10, which is disappointing for a number of reasons. One, that's just a low hit rate. I much prefer to be in the 8, 9, even 10 range.
Yeah.
And the ones that we missed, a little surprising. I don't know. Hungary didn't make the cut. You had Hungary, I had Hungary as a team, and all of the other data.
A lot of people had Hungary.
Yeah, all signs pointed to Hungary advancing, and that did not happen. Poland, we had selected. You also had Poland in your top 10.
Yes.
Did not come to pass, unfortunately. We, as a team, we had Belgium.
Even though I think neither of us had Belgium in our 10 lineup.
Yeah, I think that was just a case of just it was strong early on.
Data says this, and yeah.
early indicators, and then it just kept sliding and sliding.
Fizzling and fizzling.
Yeah. And then you had Georgia in your top 10, and I wanted Georgia in my top 10, and I thought Georgia was going to pull it out. I really did.
I thought they were going to do it. Yeah, like I was very impressed with that performance. We had talked earlier in the season. You had mentioned what they were doing in the video, and I was just very impressed with how they pulled that one together. Thought it told a very intriguing story, and I'm very sad that's not going to be there on Saturday.
Shortly after the semifinal, it was either from the Eurovision account or from Jan Olesund specifically, saying that there was only 2 points separating 11th place and 10th place, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was Georgia. Like, yeah, that was such a good performance.
Like, Hungary, on one hand, surprised me that didn't get through because I thought the song was lovely. On the other hand, I was underwhelmed by the staging. I did not expect like gold tone pictures of dads.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting those because I think that was part of the rehearsal
had pitched,
footage.
Like pictures of dads, but
yeah, the way that was used, it was just so like it was just kind of hanging there. Like there was no interaction between Yossi and what was happening around him. Like it was very strange staging, and yeah, like you, I was very underwhelmed and kind of disappointed with the performance. Even though the song was lovely, like his vocal was lovely, but there was just nothing. The story of the presentation just was not there.
One that I'm surprised got through, and that I wonder if it is the 10th place that just sort of squeaked through, San Marino, because San Marino was fun. I will give it that, but it was fun in a way where it's like, I want like the 30-second 30 Rock cutaway version of this.
I have a sinking suspicion that probably finished closer to like 7th or 8th place. Like I do not think that San Marino finished in 10th.
Okay. Yeah, like I'm yeah.
Yeah, well, or like maybe I'm just kind of mentally preparing myself for that revelation when they reveal
No. We loved that. We would like more of that, please.
Yeah.
More of this Lido Deck entertainment vibe.
I think part of it is like Serhat announced, I think it was last week or the beginning of this week, that like he was not planning on returning to Eurovision. So I think that might have like planted the thought in people's heads. It's like, oh, well, if we don't vote him through now, we won't see him in the final. And that'd be kind of sad. And I agree that would be kind of sad. But then also like really playing up the Turkish angle, because Serhat is originally from Turkey. There's some Turkish in the song, and tapping into that Turkish diaspora.
We're not supposed to talk about diasporas because the internet yells at us.
Yes, but I don't think that's what pushed him over the edge, but I think it probably nudged him a little bit.
Probably gave it a nudge, yeah. I would buy that.
I thought he got stronger in the performance as it went on. Like, I'm actually kind of looking forward to that performance in the grand final. I think he's going to do a really good job. Like, within his skill set, like, I'm grading on a massive curve here, but for what we're expecting from him, I think he did a great job of delivering. So, good job, San Marino.
Yeah, good job, Serhat. You did it.
Yeah, even though, it ended up taking up a space that I thought was going to go elsewhere. So.
Yeah, same. Same. So a fun thing that I did for the first time during the semifinal was look up what the lyrics to Portugal's song mean, and it is wild.
By wild, what do you mean?
The farthest I had gone in translating the song is learning that telemóveis means cell phone, essentially. And I was like, oh, cool, I don't want to be lectured about my cell phone. You should know, thank you. And just set it aside, and then read it and was like, oh, this is like a Twilight Zone episode.
Oh, that's an interesting read on it.
Sort of, yeah.
I kind of interpreted it more as, like, it's about how cell phones are just kind of ruining our lives. And, just having, like, 24/7 access to everything and being 24/7 accessible is just a nightmare. and I think that may be what people were responding to with the song initially. Like, if you, like, were looking at the lyrics, it's like, oh, yeah, this is, like, a very important message for 2019, which I totally agree with. That being said, I don't think the stage performance conveyed any of that meaning.
No, it did not. It did not. And I get what they were going for with the red and the green, like we discussed a couple, like earlier this week. Like, it's very much kind of playing off of a rose. But like those colors didn't, like, just in the lighting, just kind of blended together for me.
I don't know if it was just the shape of the video screen or how it was being shot, but like you just didn't get any of that sort of detail. It was just this red lace pattern that was happening. And yeah, I think just a lot of the visual got muddied. I liked the performance, but yeah, I can totally understand how it would not be in the wheelhouse of an average viewer.
It felt like a very tough sell to someone who has not been following the entire season.
Right. I think it was our friends over at Aussie Vision described the end as a telenovela death. And it was like, oh, yep, that is the perfect description for what was happening there. And
absolutely,
like, oh,
yes.
Yeah. And I think if there was like kind of more of that sense of humor in the performance, because that was the other thing. Like, it was just so self-serious.
So serious, yeah.
Yeah, if there was just like a little bit more wit in there, that would have been... I mean, it's a fine line to toe, just because it's like... wit could easily become circus antics, and that would not have helped.
One thing I enjoyed, even though I was watching on a delay, was watching the Hatari column of my tweet deck just explode for 10 solid minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like it was speeding, and like having that watch performance, like, yes, this kind of works with the space that they have, and I thought did a very good job of giving all of the various elements going on their moment.
The blurring, shaky camera video effect that they had in there, I'm hoping that gets fine-tuned a little bit. I don't know.
That is maybe my only note, is that I don't need motion smoothing on this. I just want pure, uncut debauchery. I also loved them in the green room, and their one dancer just in the background of every shot, just waving the pride flag. Was yes. Just correct.
Yes.
That, and then Einar waving the little Svikmila F flag as well.
They know how to work the cameras, which is great. And also knowing how to work the camera and like preceding Hatari. So that was like a good solid 10 minutes of fantastic content. Australia. Oh, my goodness.
Holy dang. Like, yeah.
I was keeping track of the jury final. I guess that would have been Monday. People tweeting about it and like what was going on there, and people like posting some video clips and that sort of thing. Like the broadcasters, not like bootleggers, although I'm sure there were bootleggers posting stuff too. But yeah, just watching the clips and just be like, oh, this is going to be amazing. And so much of the key art on Tuesday for like different websites being like, oh, you can watch Eurovision at this time. And even going onto the Swedish feed, like the art that they used to be like, okay, this is for like the feed for semifinal 1. It was using like images from the Australia performance. And I kept on having to hide it from Dave because he's still on like media blackout mode. And, and it was just like, don't look. I don't want you to see any of this. I want you to see this performance with completely fresh eyes.
That was deeply impressive. I had said this from like the 30-second clip I had seen that they did the dang thing, but they did the dang thing.
Last I checked, Australia was up to number 2 in the odds. And,
yes.
And yeah, that would be so amazing and so well deserved. Like it was just such an amazing performance, an incredible vocal too. I don't know how she is able to do that because like just the core strength you need to like maintain your balance on one of those bendy pole thingies.
As the Icelandic English commentator put it, ladies bouncing around on giant sticks.
Oh goodness.
Oh yeah. No. That is the feed to watch. Like the English commentator is my new friend, because I will think a thing and then he will say it in a more dry way than I can do, and it's great.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, the first semifinal was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun, yeah. Netta's opening performance I thought was great.
Yeah.
You know, like the opening performance is you only get that one on like the Tuesday show. Like Thursday, you're just like, nope, we have 18 more of these guys. We gotta go.
Yep.
But like that was fun and like reminded you why she won. There was like the weird revisionist history bit at the beginning where it's like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Israel winning in 98 got us here. Definitely. Sure. Yeah.
I thought that was an excellent remix of Toy.
Yeah. Just like Netta and the Netta-ettes. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so good. What do we think of the hosting so far?
They're very smart with immediately banishing 2 of them to the green room.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, nope, this is too many people. 2, you have to leave. I think having Bar be the main host is good. She's a very visible face. She's someone that's a known quantity.
Mm-hmm.
The guys are fine. And they're there. I don't know. Like, no one's really leaving a mark on me, which I think is probably good because usually I just remember all of the awkwardness and I don't recall that much awkwardness.
Yeah, well, not in the first semifinal.
There
definitely was in the second semifinal.
We'll get to the second semifinal.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of the Oscars this year, where it's like, oh, well, we don't have any hosts. It's like, maybe that's something that Eurovision could consider. But I doubt they'd be able to do that because they do need to have some sort of filler
there does need
thing
to be
during
someone
setups.
Driving the boat.
Right. I think this is the first time we're having 4 hosts. They're making it work, sort of, but you still don't need 4 hosts. Like,
You
there's
still- no, you
there's
don't.
not enough to do. So
You maybe need 3 if the first 2 people you pick really can't do the French. The interval acts have been fun. I did not recognize Donna International when she until like after the video clip when she actually started Just the Way You Are in earnest. Eurovision does not need a kiss cam.
No. Oh, nobody needs a kiss cam. Like
Nobody needs a kiss cam. And then it got real weird for me because I missed the part where she was saying "love has no" before a bunch of things, and then a word would appear on the screen. And like the first word that appears on the screen, boundaries. I'm like, yes, Israel, there need to be boundaries. No one wants a kiss cam. And then it went religion, and I was like, sure, we're in Israel, and there's a lot of that historically here. And then finally I heard "love has no," and I was like, oh, that's what they're doing here.
Yeah, but it's just like, and I get the point is that LGBTQ visibility is important, but replacing heteronormativity with non-consensual acts is not the way to go about things.
Okay,
and,
like I go to a bad movie night called Trash Night, and a lot of the movies, anytime that there are 2 faces on screen in close proximity to one another, the theater yells "kiss" at them.
Right.
This felt like Eurovision was yelling "kiss" at the audience.
Yeah, and I kind of appreciated it that there were a lot of people who were just like, nah, I'm good.
We're just like, nah, we're good. Thank you.
Yeah. Granted, Europe and probably the rest of the world is much more like not into PDA, but at least accepting or tolerant of PDA. Like you just don't see that as often on like the streets of Chicago or New York. But it's still, I don't know, maybe this is just like centuries of puritanical Americanism.
I was just about to say weird American Puritanism.
Yeah. It's just like, no, everybody needs to be a respectful distance from one another. And it's just like, no, I like you, but just don't touch me.
Need some room for the Holy Ghost.
Yeah. At least we're kind of like disapproving of this, and just in terms of like the consent side of things.
Like a fun,
and just,
hey, consent is sexy way.
Yeah, whereas Belarus, their announcer,
just like openly homophobic.
Yeah, it was just like, really? Ugh. So that was unfortunate, particularly because Belarus getting through was kind of a surprise for people. Not for me. I had Belarus picked because I love that pop. Yeah. But yeah, that was just really kind of disappointing to hear that happening. And then also like their jury is just like, oh yeah, here's how our deliberations went. And like they just started kind of talking
essentially
up.
Like gave you one of those logic puzzles where it's like, juror number 4 liked these 3 songs. Juror number 5 liked these 6 songs. It's like, okay, we see what you did. And that's not cool.
I've not seen any sort of follow-up on that yet, in terms of if they've received a stern talking to or anything like that. But it seems like there's always some sort of jury shenanigan that happens each year. And not that we actually see the juries in
not
action,
that we ever see them,
So the second semifinal was held on Thursday. And this one was the more hotly contested one because a lot of the favorites were competing, particularly in the last third of the show. But the 10 countries that have advanced to the grand final are Albania, Azerbaijan, Denmark, Malta, Netherlands, North Macedonia, Norway, Russia, Sweden, and Switzerland. Overall, we did much better.
We did much better. We were 8 out of 10 across the board. So just our data as a whole, 8 out of 10. Myself, 8 out of 10. And you, 8 out of 10.
All 3, entities. We said Armenia and Romania. They did not get through, which is unfortunate. I thought they gave great performances, but this was a tougher semifinal than I think we expected.
Denmark and Macedonia, we had them off our list. I think we had North Macedonia as our 11th. In the cumulative data, we both had Croatia in our personal 11th places, and I was very sad to not see them get through because I thought they did a great job of bringing the drama after a largely drama-free first half.
I agree. Roko's voice is such a good voice, and I think seeing the full presentation, like where it started out as, oh, he doesn't have the wings on the entire time. It was just like, oh, okay, they have a concept here.
They told a story. I like his voice. I want to see him do good things and continue to prosper as an artist.
Yes. I don't know. Maybe we'll see him at Eurovision again. And hopefully with a song that's a little more resonant, relevant.
That just kind of clicks a little bit better.
I think he won over a lot of people, like just watching the Twitter stream as the performance was going on. People were just like, oh, I do actually kind of like this one. So
So with Romania, I understood like why that one didn't go through. For me, it felt like there were a lot of elements going on. But all of them were kind of going on around Esther. Like she wasn't really part of them. They were just sort of additional set dressing. Like, it didn't feel connected to me.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think the way that I described it on Twitter was the song has Act 3 problems, where it's just like nothing. By the time it gets to that third verse, which when we were talking about it before, just saying like, oh, this song's still going on? Okay, I guess we'll do a third verse then. It still wasn't kind of drawing everything together. I have to wonder how the Romanian delegation's going to handle this news.
It's feeling, because they seemed particularly mad that they did not make it through last year.
Mm-hmm.
And this has now been 2 years in a row, so I wonder what kind of changes that will affect within how they pick things or what they decide to send to Eurovision. The first half of this entire program, like I said, was like largely drama-free. I thought Armenia and Serbuk did a lovely job of opening things up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other one that I was disappointed didn't make it through.
I'm very curious to see where that ended up in the scoreboard. I'm wondering if it was like what you had predicted, where it's just like it's so early in the lineup that it's just going to get forgotten.
Both that and Cyprus, to quickly mention that one, like had a tough job of opening the show, and that's always a tricky place to be in.
Yeah, it was a great performance. I thought her vocal was fantastic. Awesome use of pyro. Like Armenia always brings the fire. So
I mean, but yeah, like it maybe had a tricky job of opening and then was just followed by two clunkers.
Yeah.
Ireland really had an uphill battle this Eurovision because it just feels like the delegation wasn't feeling it. I liked all the things that were going on in it, but I was also like, okay, people are just going through the motions.
But looking so uncomfortable, like going through the motions, like, which is a shame because I thought the art style of the staging and
I loved the art. It had like a real sense of motion to it that helped with the song. But just like everything else just didn't click.
Yeah. So Switzerland got through. I gotta say, in the battle between Switzerland and Cyprus as the Fuego clones.
Yeah, it's not even close.
Yeah, and I gotta give it to Switzerland.
I think just overall in the way that they are staging it in camera is so much more dynamic, so much better.
And it's so weird because it's like, it's the same choreographer. Like they're both using Sasha Jean-Baptiste. And you could tell, like, because, I mean, she has a very distinctive style of lead singer in the front, flanked by two dancers on both sides.
I had not known coming into this that was the same choreographer with both teams, and no, like that's a signature, yeah.
Yeah, and like she did Fuego as well, so like it's just like that is her trademark.
To bring this back to Iceland.
Okay.
When I went to look up the English language commentary, they only had the last 20 minutes, so I ended up watching the Icelandic commentary. Can't make out a lot of Icelandic despite using an app on my phone to get better about that. But the things I can make out during the intro video, Despacito. Patrick Swayze. Don't put Luca in the corner. Dirty Dancing. Despacito might end up on the bingo square for that one.
That's fair. I think
just
that's
because you can't fair. Like once it's like the FedEx arrow, you can't not see it once it's brought up.
I still don't like the song, but I thought it was a really good performance, and so it's just like, all right, fine. So I'm not mad at you. I'm disappointed in me. So
yeah.
Let's see. Denmark. I was surprised that Denmark got through, honestly. Like there were like all of our indicators, except for the odds. Like the odds makers had that in their top 10.
I think it was a very strong vocal performance, and I think had it been pitchier, it would have had more issues.
Yes. I still find the song very off-putting.
Yeah.
It's not that she's lightened up, but she did not have the same like laser focus intensity like she did in Denmark's national final. So
well, yeah, she's done the routine like 20 more times now. It's now muscle memory instead of like needing to hit everything on beat.
Right. I wouldn't call it warm or engaging, but
yeah,
it's heading toward that direction. And like during the press conference, somebody asked her about like, oh yeah, it seems like with every performance you're like kicking it up a notch. How do you think that's going to play in the final? And she's like, oh, I don't know, but yeah, I agree, it's been going up a notch each time. So it's like, all right, I guess I agree with that assessment.
Having seen the full Malta performance, I thought that it was fun. I still think the song is very generic, but I thought that the performance that went along with it helped elevate that. Now that I see the full effect of what they're doing, it
makes much more sense, particularly when you have the overhead shots, what it is that they're trying to do. And she really impressed me at the press conference following the semifinal. I don't know how much media training she's gone through, either as part of X Factor or as part of this process, but she handled those questions like a pro. And it's not like they're the most hard-hitting questions, but sometimes they'll just ask something where it's either just poorly phrased or just phrased in a way where you could kind of fall into the trap of either slagging one of your competitors or just putting your foot in your mouth. And she dodged, like, I was just impressed with how she was able to negotiate those sort of traps. And it's like, oh, okay, I like you. So, yeah, I mean, like, I wish I liked the song at all. I was going to say more, but it's just like, no, that implies that I like it.
That implies that you like it at
some
some level,
but,
and as we've discussed this season, you don't.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm glad that she got Malta back into the final, because I've always been a Malta fan. I would not object to Malta winning at some point. I hear it's lovely this time of year. So
let's talk about those last 6, because like just from the running order, we knew that they were likely to get through, and they all did, which is great, because like North Macedonia had like fallen off of our radar.
Yeah, she was on my radar. I had her. As
she was on
5,
your radar, but I was like, I'm not sure about this performance, but I liked it. They took our notes and just had pictures of empowered women in the background in black and white.
And it was a fantastic vocal. Like I like, she did everything she needed to do, and yeah, she should be proud. So I will not apologize for that. No.
That was very good. That was well timed.
Yes. Of these 6, one of the big ones to talk about is Sergei Lazarev. What did you think of his scream performance?
They're doing so much with it. They're doing so much with that song, and I don't entirely get it. Like, I get it. There's mirrors, and then there's rain, and I don't know. Like, just as a whole, it just feels like they're throwing a lot of stuff at a real mediocre song to get it through.
It does a great job of highlighting his vocal talent.
Yeah, I will say that his vocal in the second semifinal was excellent. That is the best I've heard that song.
Yeah, and like I had no doubt that he was going to be able to deliver on the vocals. Like, I mean, he's a very talented singer. Like, I was a huge fan of his in 2016, and a lot of his stuff is now in my Spotify. And like, I had no doubt that he was going to knock this out of the park. But yeah, like the actual staging and concept, it just feels so.
Well, I feel like what they're trying to do is they're like, okay, what did we do last time? How do we top it? And I guess they settled on, okay, 8 Sergeys? And it turns out no.
8 Sergeys in that sort of configuration is just not what I'm responding to. But I found it underwhelming, especially compared to 2016, because like 2016 was just so mind-blowing what they were able to accomplish.
Was so precise.
Yeah.
And just so well done.
Yeah, whereas this one just has so many, like, I think it lacked surprise. And yeah, which I think that's where the Dream Team excels when they excel. Like, like they've had the cubicle effect. Like they've used cubicles many times before. Like Moldova's performance last year is kind of a cubicle performance. But then like in 2013 when they were working with Azerbaijan and they had the like upside down dancer. Yeah, like that was fantastic. And I still think that should have won. But
yeah, like that like I would agree, I would have agreed with that one winning. Yeah, just thinking about cubicles and thinking about the Dream Team, because like last year there was like a sense of fun there, and there was just sort of this weird Looney Tunes physics thing going on that added on top of a very strong vocal performance, whereas this didn't really do anything to its vocal performance. Like, it's there, and yes, he's suddenly in a box, and the box is full of rain.
Like, there were all of these special effects, but it's just like, well, so what? Like, it's just like, okay, well, you had the budget, so you got all of these things, but they're not adding anything. I mean, I don't think they're taking away from the performance. They're just not adding.
They're not adding to it. Yeah. They're a thing that's happening at the same time. I look forward to just talking with you next Monday about how we were very wrong, if that's the case, but I don't think we're going to be talking about how we were very wrong. So another one that I think is where I don't understand the elements of the staging with it, and we talked about them in mentioning the Dream Team, Azerbaijan is I now see the full thing, but and I'm just like I on one hand I want to like what they're doing, but it's another one where I feel like similar to Romania, where he's standing in the middle and not doing much. Like he's kind of parking and barking.
I like that phrase.
It's a real park and bark. And like heart surgery is happening around him, and he's just kind of there. And like we had talked about, like the Greg Brady effect when we talked about this song, and like it just feels like that just feels right. Like
the whole robot thing in the first part, like it was a very stunning image and stuff, but then you get to the second verse and it's just the like head animation behind him, just kind of like turning to the left, turning to the right, turning to the left, turning to the right, and like there's just nothing.
It's focusing on the head in the background and not the performer who's like way at the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, and I still don't know what the story is that's trying to be told here. Like I was actually kind of wondering if Azerbaijan was going to get through when the results were coming in. 'Cause it's like, well, like it was a cool looking performance, but was that enough? And obviously it was. And I thought the vocal was fine, but yeah, overall it was just like a lot of elements just not quite coming together.
Compared to something like Albania, who just blew me away and didn't need all of that extra stuff going on.
Yeah, just like a powerful vocal, like the occasional fire, which fire
it's
good.
Like that nice ring of fire on the floor, and then the way that they use sort of those triangle pieces that are clearly configurable or can be removed and made them these sort of hanging polygons outlined in red.
Yeah, Albania's figuring stuff out, and I could not be happier. Like I've always had a soft spot for Albania, and I'm glad that they're back on track. So I guess the big one to talk about would be Netherlands.
That was the big lighting thing. Like that was what they were like squawking about. Like that was it.
Everything about the staging of that was just like, okay, this is like really boring. And then there's like, okay, well, the lighting effect thing is supposed to be coming in. And all it is, for like, if you have not seen it yet, is like a pendant lamp dropping down during was it after the second chorus, or
like
in the bridge part?
Bit?
Yeah. Like comes all the way down, and he like looks at it directly, and then it rises back up again. And it's just like, what was that?
Yeah, what was that? I thought it was a very good vocal performance of the song. Like, like just as far as like focusing just on the song goes, like I have resigned myself that, okay, if the bookies are correct, I guess. But because I thought it was a good performance of the song, it's like, yes, I get why there's the hype, but I also want more. I want more. I want more of my winner. I want something that feels a little bit more dynamic and not something that could have won any time in the past 5 years.
I think back to when Noam was last on the show, and he said, like, yeah, it's a Eurovision. Like, that could have been a radio performance and had the exact same effect. Like, there was nothing visually compelling about that performance. And I think it's also just a case of, like, I don't think I like the song. And as soon as I own that part of my truth, then...
Okay, so to use that as a segue and talk about another song that was not in your top 10 for the semifinal, Norway, I was underwhelmed because they have a big fun song and they have that staging with it. On the other hand, I've been saying that this feels like 3 songs that are happening at the same time, and they found a way to stage it in that way.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did.
Is one man is over here, another man is over here, Our Lady is in the back.
I thought vocally they did a good job.
Yeah, they were very strong.
Yeah, but man, oh man, that song's just super annoying. You could send out your emails too. No,
please do not add us. We know how you feel.
Yeah, we'll get ads.
I mean, remember how like a couple weeks ago we were like, oh man, this is going to sneak in, and by being everyone's 5th, I don't think that's a problem anymore.
I don't know. That audience was really into it. So I've recently seen people kind of comparing it to Yodel It from a couple years ago, which I think is a fair comparison. And it was definitely top 10.
It was top 10.
And,
so
yeah. I loved Yodel It. I don't know why there's such a high barrier to entry for me on this one. But
well, let's briefly talk about the interval acts, because those were one of them was awkward. Like the Shelva band, I get it. I understand now why everybody was making a big deal about it. That said, like, I never want to hear a song from The Greatest Showman ever again. Just like if we can put a moratorium on covering songs from the soundtrack to that film for a year, just in terms of reality show singing programs, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah. When they opened up with the John Lennon quote, I think there were a lot of people who were like kind of grasping the handles of their chairs, being like, "They're not going to start singing Imagine, are they?" Because Israel, read the room.
Count me among the people who were like clawing at their sofa, going, "Oh no!" Because if there's one thing I want less than a cover of a song off of The Greatest Showman, it might be John Lennon's Imagine.
Yeah, especially in this particular context, like
that, or like a Leonard Cohen Hallelujah, where it's just been covered to death.
No, let's leave the heroin overdoses for a different competition. Let's save that for Junior Eurovision. So what do we think of The Mentalist?
He was there and had a lot of energy, and that's the end of the nice things I can say about that. Like, I weirdly kind of like Mentalist magic stuff, because usually it's very scientific and mathematical and precise, and you've designed a trick that despite a disparate number of inputs gets to one output. And as someone who thinks about puzzles and problem solving a lot, that appeals to me. But with this one, I'm just like, okay, but this is a bit. This is a bit, and like whoever he called is like in on it, and like you shouldn't call Ireland because she should be writing the number 22.
Although she did write 151, so it's like, oh well, maybe she just wants a Bacardi 151 and wants to call it a night. Which, like, high five, honey. So
I agree, but yeah, like before they had unrolled the poster version of the numbers, like when they were just telling them like, oh, that kind of makes Eurovision if you flip them up. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay. These, like this had to be a thing.
Yeah. Although, like, I did kind of appreciate how into it Sergey was. Like, he seemed to be having a great time just being part of the bit.
I did like as far as like awkward host contestant things go, like I like this. Can we like have like some other fun little mini game thing that we can just have various groups of 4 contestants play?
Yeah, like I mean it kind of felt a little Let's Make a Deal when he was like gathering the participants for this exercise.
Yes. Give me like the newlywed game with like the acts that have become fast friends over the week. Like give me like Hatari guessing what Tulia's favorite color is.
Yes. Oh, that would have been delightful. Aw. Call us Eurovision. We have ideas.
Yeah, we have ideas. We have very reasonable rates.
Yes.
We offer fresh perspective. Speaking of fresh perspective, we have 6 acts coming in that will not have performed. Well, they will have performed because there's a massive schedule of rehearsals. But they will not have appeared on TV screens in full.
Yes, so we've got the Big 5 of Germany, Italy, Spain, United Kingdom, France, and the host country, Israel. And I don't know if we necessarily need to get into the rehearsals part of it, other than to say that Germany had a delightful gaffe. I just find hilarious.
So somebody watching it, well, by somebody I mean the internet as a whole at large, saw that they were using a bunch of pictures of, sisters, because the song is called Sisters and the band is called Sisters, and like immediately we're like, these are stock images. And then someone was like, these are stock images of lesbians.
Yeah.
It's like these, and not only that, but it's like the first page of results for if you search iStock photo or whatever stock photo site they used for.
Right. Number one, just the fact that they're using a stock photo site is kind of funny because I think Hungary, like in their performance,
Hungary at least sourced their photos of dads.
Right. Yeah. It's like, okay, we're going to stock photos, and then. As far as I know, there's not supposed to be a like lesbian undertone to the song, but now I kind of want to like re-listen to it in like a queer theory context and just be like, oh, I might be responding to this song differently. So I just thought it was very silly.
It was very silly. And like on one hand, I get it. Like you want pictures of 2 females who are enjoying one another's company,
yes.
But also like widen your search term range.
Yeah. I think the Big 5 act I'm most excited for is France.
I'm feeling excited for Spain, but let's talk about France quick.
With France, like just seeing what they're doing with their performance, it involves a ballerina who is a large young woman, and also an Asian woman who I think is doing sign language. I couldn't tell. They kept kind of cutting away from the clip before you could really see how she's interacting with Bilal on stage. But it reminded me from a couple of seasons ago on RuPaul's Drag Race. There was a contestant named Kim Chi, whose platform toward the end of the season was the stigma facing what's known in the gay community as fat femme or Asian, where it's just like they're the members of the community who are just most, I don't even know what the right word, like victimized isn't the right word, but like they're just, it's like a disqualifying factor on like so many apps and stuff. And just like the way that the gay community is just rejects those members of the community. And like this performance is highlighting that problem so well. And it's like, oh, this is going to be an important one. And
well, yeah, I didn't necessarily see it from that angle. But it's your standard Eurovision empowerment thing, but to see it actually illustrated as this is not just about this one person singing this message, this is this person and this team of people showing that you are not going to put me down. You are not going to continue quoting the song that's in my head, break my stride.
I think that's something that France has been doing a fantastic job of, where it's just like, at first it just seemed like it was all about Bilal and just kind of being like the YouTube, like it's all about me type persona. And it's just like, no, we need to widen the lens as much as possible. Yeah. And like they've done such a fantastic job. And I don't see it as being like mechanical or strategic. There's a genuineness behind widening that lens and a sincerity.
Well, yeah, and with last year with France, we dinged them a lot because it felt like they were trying to tell a story that wasn't theirs to tell.
Exactly.
And this year, that same team like found someone to co-write a song with, worked with Bilal, found a way to tell his story, and are now finding a way to make that a wider story. And I think that's a better way to go.
Yes. Shortly after the rehearsal footage was made available on YouTube, France shot up the odds charts. So I'm not the only person excited about it, I guess. So that's exciting. But Spain sounds like fun too. What is making you excited about Spain? I still think that
just from what I've seen of the video of their performance, they are overcomplicating the heck out of this. They are continuing to paint that fresco and go, look, I made it better, and I'm not sure that the visuals are working, but it still feels so fun.
Yeah.
It still and there's still a lot of energy and a lot of dance to it, even though they're trying to throw everything in the kitchen sink at it.
Yeah.
And I think so we now know the final running order. It's closing the show like we had predicted it might close the show. And I think that's a very smart move. It's going to send things out on like a very high energy note.
Yeah, very high energy, very colorful note, which is great because starting off the show is going to be Malta with Chameleon, which is just as colorful, just as like kind of getting the party started in its vibe. So that's just like a nice symmetry that they've set up there. For the auto qualifiers, Germany was the only one to draw the first half. So they're in spot 4. We already knew that Israel was in 14. UK is shortly after that in 16. Let's see, France and Italy will be in 21 and 22. And as we just said, Spain's closing out the show. A lot of the favorites from the second semifinal drew the first half. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I very much appreciated what you put on Twitter earlier of the put Duncan Lawrence in the number 2 position. Let's see if that really has any effect. How a song is received challenge.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they did not heed my advice, and Albania is in the 2 spot. I think Albania is going to be fine.
Albania is going to be fine. That's a good song.
I thought Germany might have gotten the 2 spot just because it's like, an auto qualifier, it seems like the 2 spot should be like reserved for an auto qualifier just to like,
the two spot should be reserved for who the producer's like, okay, we're not sure how this got through.
Well, there are 2 placements that amuse me to no end. Cyprus will be in 11th, Netherlands will be in 12th. And I had the realization today that these 2 songs might be telling the same story just from different points of view.
Okay. And now we get to see that acted out.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I'm glad that this theory is going to get put to the test, where it's just like Tamta, like the character in Tamta's song is just like, I just want to keep it casual, take it or leave it. And the character in Duncan's song just wanted a little bit more and just doesn't understand. That's where my mind's at.
I find it hilarious that Estonia has to follow Iceland for a second time.
That was the other one that I was going to mention. And it's just like, oh, poor Victor.
We thought this was going to wipe you out last time.
Yeah. Although I can kind of understand why that might have happened, just because Hatari has a lot going on the stage. Yes. And I imagine that the setup and takedown is a particularly challenging one. So if they can just use the same plan that they've already used in the first semifinal, they already have in
place. Yeah. Which I noticed that like the transition after Hatari during the first semifinal was real quick. Like they went to the video clip really fast. Yeah. And I understand why they're doing that because Israel is scared.
But at the same time, there's just like, oh no, we need as much time as possible to get the giant hammer globe out of the way. So
I love the giant hammer globe so much.
So good.
And I do. Well, the other thing is like there have been a bunch of delegations that got essentially extra time because they were having technical issues or whatever. Whereas Iceland sent someone like a week ahead to build their globe. They had their stuff ready to go. Yeah, they did the assignment, and I appreciate that.
They also have the extra challenge of like, we're coming from the island all the way over there.
We don't have a direct flight.
But the transition that I'm most curious about is going to be the one from Australia, which is in slot 25, and Spain, just because I imagine they just have to.
They have to wheel the ladies on sticks off stage. Right. They have to wheel the big house and that puppet on stage.
Yeah, and I don't think they're planning on having a break between those 2 just because it's the end of the lineup, but
this is what dress rehearsal is for, is to figure that out.
All right, so any predictions on what's going to happen on Saturday?
Let's see. I would like to think that the Netherlands is not going to win. Just particularly looking at the end of the lineup and the things that are Like, they stuck Netherlands as far as they could into the lineup just so that they will be memorable, and I'm really hoping something in the second half takes it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's some strong stuff in there. There is France, and we've talked about that. That one sort of snuck up. Switzerland, I guess. They do have a very dynamic package. Australia, I think, this is the strongest I think their performance has been since Donnie M.
Mm-hmm.
And that almost won. So we could see what the contingency plan looks like. I have been watching a lot of interest in Hatari build up over the week. I'm feeling like they're not going to go all the way. I would like to see them at least get second for Iceland again, just so that every year ending in 9 is just a pattern. I would obviously love them to take home the whole thing. I will be the first to celebrate for that. But who I would like to win? I would like Iceland to win. I've been very clear about this since Hatari was a blip on the radar.
Mm-hmm.
Who do I think is going to win? I think it's someone in the second half. I could see Italy or Australia taking it.
I'd been rooting for Italy, and like from their rehearsal footage, like I am very psyched for their performance. Australia's performance though was just so amazing, and she's just been so delightful. Like,
yeah,
the video of her doing the ASMR version of Zero Gravity, yeah, like that was just like, she is such a delightful personality, and the song is amazing. Like I've grown to really love that song, and yeah, just the visual that they were able to pull off. Like, I mean, it's just like they are checking all of the boxes and going above and beyond. And I would love it if Australia won. I would love it if Iceland won. I don't think that's going to happen. I think
I think that the public is going to be very strong for Iceland. I do not think it will have the jury support it needs to do the dang thing. And that's partially just because Belarus had loose lips, and Hatari was nowhere near the top of their stuff.
Yeah. I think France is in the mix. I really do. Like that. I mean, just from the very short rehearsal clips that they revealed, it's like, oh, it was giving me feels. It's like, that's very hard to do because I'm a very unfeeling person. So,
I mean, just thinking of like a potential contingency plan for Australia. Again, we are available at all times. We have very reasonable rates, project manager experience.
Yes.
But just Australia wins, and you host it in France, and they do something together because it's Australia in France.
I would be a fan of that. All right, but I guess we'll find out all of this at about 6:30-ish Eastern time on Saturday.
I'm predicting like 7-ish, just given like the stacked lineup of like interval acts.
True. Yeah, we don't know how long Madonna's set is going to go.
Because there's like 43 things, and then another hour of Belarus calling.
Yes. So if you are going to watch the grand final, it will be on at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. On our site, we've got a list of all of the streamers where you can watch it. You don't need a VPN. It should be available just by clicking on the links. Or if you're in a major city, New York, DC, Chicago, a few others as well. There are viewing parties all over the place. Be sure to check that out. And I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Euro What. Thank you for listening. The Euro What podcast is hosted by Mike McComb, that's me, and Ben Smith.
Hadrid Mutsigra.
You can find us on our website at eurowhat.com and on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Eurowhat. We'd love to hear your questions, comments, and predictions. You can subscribe to the Euro What on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or the podcast app of your choice. Rating and reviewing the podcast when you subscribe also helps other Eurovision fans find us. We'll be back next week to make sense of what happened at Eurovision.